Morning. Hope you're doing well. We're now on day 11 of the Advent. I hope you're enjoying this walk through the Advent days leading up to the birth of Christ. And I'm enjoying reading it. You know, I've read the story of the birth of Christ so many times, and my mom usually read it every Christmas morning at her house when we would gather for Christmas. But as you dissect each individual verse, you learn so much more than just reading the whole entire verses of the birth of Christ. And I pray you're learning something about this as we go through these verses that talk about that birth. Today we're in Luke chapter 2, verse 1, 2, and 3. It came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria, so all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Now, I find it's just amazing how God works in the lives of people. The scriptures in the Old Testament had prophesied that this Messiah, Micah, in fact, in chapter, in Micah had predicted that that's where Jesus would be born, is in Bethlehem. So to get them there, Caesar, it says here that it came to pass that Caesar Augustus required and called that all the world should be. They were doing a census, about like we do every, I think, 10 years now in the United States. Well, they send out these things you have to register with how many people's living in your house and all that kind of good stuff. That's what was taking place. Caesar Augustus had called for a census to be taken, and in order to do that, people had to go back to their birthplace. And Mary and Joseph were staying in the town of Nazareth, and they had to go back to that place, which was about, if I'm not mistaken, it was a pretty good trip, maybe 100 miles, possibly, that they had to travel. It was a good distance, and Mary being pregnant with child, it wasn't an easy task. But they had to go because Caesar Augustus called for it. And so there we see they went to the place that had been predicted, that had been prophesied in the Bible, in the Old Testament, some 500 to 700 years before, that's where he would be born. Mary and Joseph had to pack up and begin that journey, as she no doubt rode on a donkey, as what we've always seen shown in pictures and stuff. And no doubt it was tough. That's why Mary, it was tough on her, even being a young lady, a young girl, full of energy, full of life. It was rough on her to go to that place for the birth in Bethlehem, and to go and ride that donkey for all them miles. No doubt it was tough, but she did it. God protected her. God watched over her. So Caesar Augustus, it was placed in his spirit to call for that census, and the journey begins now. The prophecy in the Old Testament now is starting to be fulfilled, and it was coming to pass many years later, 500 to 700 years later. It was coming to pass, just like it had been prophesied. Our God's an awesome God, and I am so thankful. And I've said this many times, he makes a promise, he keeps it. He fulfills that promise. And I am so thankful that that's the God we serve today, and I pray you're tickled to death over that too, and it pleases you to know that our God, when he says something, he means it, and he's going to do it. And I'm so thankful for that today, just like we read in this Bible verse here of Jesus' birth. Now on the way there, they're on the way to where Jesus Christ will be born in a stable. May God richly bless you today is my prayer.